When engaging with Calvinism, it's essential to understand the theological framework and the common objections raised by its adherents. Here's a structured rebuttal. 1. The issue of logical ramifications. Argument. Calvinism posits that God has predestined all events, including individual salvation and damnation. This raises a significant issue regarding the nature of human free will and moral responsibility. If all actions and outcomes are preordained, it logically follows that individuals lack true autonomy in their decisions. Rebuttal. When Calvinists claim that God's predestination does not negate human free will, they often fail to reconcile this with their view of God's sovereignty. The logical ramification of predestination is determinism. If every choice is preordained, then humans are merely acting out a script written by God. This undermines the concept of moral responsibility, as individuals cannot be held accountable for actions that they were predestined to perform. 2. Semantic differences. Argument. Calvinists often use familiar theological terms in ways that differ significantly from their common meanings. For instance, when they say God permits something, they imply that God causes it. Similarly, foreknowledge is often equated with causal determination. Rebuttal. To engage effectively, it's crucial to clarify these terms. Ask for precise definitions and illustrate how these definitions affect theological claims. For example, if permit actually means cause, then God is directly responsible for all actions, including evil. This attribution poses serious problems for the character of God, as it makes him the author of sin. Such a view conflicts with the biblical portrayal of God's holiness and justice. 3. The problem of evil argument. Calvinism struggles to address the problem of evil satisfactorily. If God predestines all events, including sinful acts, then he becomes responsible for evil. This contradicts the biblical assertion that God is wholly good and opposed to sin. Rebuttal. Point out that a system where God predetermines evil acts compromises his moral integrity. If God causes evil, then the distinction between good and evil becomes blurred, making moral accountability meaningless. Furthermore, it raises the question of why a good God would need to cause evil to achieve his purposes, which suggests a limitation in his power or goodness. 4. The illusion of free will. Argument. Calvinism often claims to uphold human free will through the concept of compatibilism, which suggests that divine predestination and human free will are compatible. Rebuttal. Compatibilism, however, is a form of determinism that uses nuanced language to mask its implications. If God's will irresistibly determines human actions, then any semblance of free will is merely illusory. Highlight the logical inconsistency in claiming that humans act freely when their choices are inevitably directed by divine decree. 5. The nature of God's love and justice. Argument. Calvinism's doctrine of limited atonement asserts that Christ died only for the elect, not for all humanity. This view challenges the universality of God's love and the justice of his judgments. Rebuttal. Emphasize the biblical passages that affirm God's love for all people, e.g. John 3:16, 1 Timothy 2:4, and the universality of Christ's atoning sacrifice, e.g. 1 John 2:2. Argue that a just and loving God would not arbitrarily select some for salvation and others for damnation without regard to their actions or faith. This selective approach undermines the biblical teaching of God's impartiality and justice.